Welcome back to the Realty Report. Good to see all my people back again. Awesome. Think we got another good conversation we're going to have with our friend and partner, my man Jimmy D. Jimmy's going to come to the stage and we're going to have a great conversation. This is not an interview. This is a conversation amongst friends. Jimmy, my man, what is happening, brother?
How are you, pal? How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing okay. Always a pleasure to see you. Been running around. I know every time we talk, either you're running, I'm running, something's always going on. Everything good?
So
With the
I know
family?
you've been same old thing with the family, just enjoying the holidays. Thank God, mom and dad are still here, and
Amen.
enjoy that. Of course, with my second half, Barbara, who I love, and that's about it. My son, I'm blessed to have a great son. He's uh,
Amen.
he's my only child,
There you go.
and that's about it. That's all I do. He found a great girl. Her name is Marissa, and he's in love, and they're both in love. And she's a trauma nurse, and that's great. I mean, like, he really found a good girl that he's very happy with, and I'm happy for him.
Jimmy, before we get into what we're going to get into, and I know we have, like, God knows how many shows we're going to do, how we might go into the year 2033. But anyway, I just want to welcome some people in, if that's okay. You know, people that really took time out tonight.
Sure, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. First off, I'd like to thank Cinnamon Girl for coming in. Dave T from Boston. Maddie, Mad Dog Sweeney, thank you for being here. Kelly, thank you for coming in. Again, Barbara Materna, thank you. Jimmy's fan club is coming. They're all showing up. My man chatting with Stacks. I'm learning, guys, how to do things as we go. Staxy, as soon as I learn how to drop your link, I will. So, anybody out there who doesn't know about the Chatting with Stacks show, which everybody does, but if you don't, you must check out his show. Todd Father, welcome in, brother. Check out my man Stacks. Check out my man Todd Father's show. He's got a funny channel, talks about a lot of things. Dex Dallas, what's happening, Dex? What's up, my brother? Good to see you in the house tonight. As always, I just want the chat to know and everybody to know, I set up 7, remember we went through this the last time? How do we do these wrenches? I set up at least 8 or 9 wrenches so we could have moderators watch this, make sure no retard, I won't say that, I'll take that back. Nobody that's got bad intentions says anything silly in the chat. I don't mind trolling shit because I might enjoy dealing with that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that have like really crazy things to say, talking about harming people or stuff like that. I hear that's going around. So El Toro, thank you for coming. Thank you so much, brother. So I made about 7 from where I was. I was, on the computer at home. I'm not at home now. So I made about 7 moderators for tonight, and not one of them has showed up with the blue wrench. Welcome in, Ben. Welcome. It's good to see you. We're just welcoming in people right now. So it looks like Cinnamon Girl, Dave T. I made a whole bunch of people, gave the wrenches, people that are always in this show, Benny, and so forth and so on. Todd Paul, Tommy Steak, everybody would get a wrench. Thank you. Cinnamon Girl, if you know how to drop links, please do me a favor. If you can, drop everybody's links. So maybe because you could drop the link, maybe that means, hey, Maddie, I know you're a master plumber. You need a wrench. But if Cinnamon Girl, if you know how to drop links, like I don't think the last time we could, and I don't want to waste too much time on it, drop everybody's link you want to drop. You do your thing. You ain't got to worry. Do your thing. So, Jimmy, we're just going to see if we get one more in here. We're at 19 right now, and we're going to get rolling. We're going to get right into it, and I'm going to, right off the bat, we're going to jump into something good. Everything we talk about.
That's not the stack. Is that the same
Chatting with
Stacks?
Stacks. You know Billy Stacks. He's always on with Larry. Yes. He's in the room tonight.
No, I thought it was it couldn't have been the other Stacks that came back from the dead that Tommy D killed.
Yeah, nah. All right, you know what? Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey, somebody's saying hello to my mother. Thank you very much, Maddie. Mrs. G will appreciate that very much. Trust me. Let's jump right into it. So, Joey Blunts, welcome in, Joey. Always good to see you, pal. Always good to see you. Anybody needs a great mechanic, Joey Blunts is the guy to see. You can't beat his prices. Jimmy, don't laugh. I'm serious. He's getting the shit legit. It's not falling off the back of a truck. Well, maybe some.
No, I'm a different mechanic.
You're a card mechanic. All right, here we go. Let's jump right into this. Let's start. Jimmy, I want to talk to you about something that. Remember the time? I want to. We'll keep it like this. There was a time I know you went out to dinner with. You had Jilly at Jilly's. Want to talk about that night? Is that okay?
Right.
We talked about that night. Maybe who was there.
Oh, sure.
So let's share that with us.
Yeah, it was in the 80s, and
can you raise your volume? Come closer to your computer.
Can you hear me? Well? Can you hear me well now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I accompanied my dad. It was Cabert was there, Bobby Cabert, little Sammy was there, Casaro, and we were from the Jersey side. I accompanied my dad. We went to Jilly's restaurant. It was on 8th Avenue around 50th Street. Now, Jilly Rizzo was a dear friend of Frank Sinatra's, and he had his own nightclub. It was called Jilly's in New York. Everybody knew about Jilly's. So we went there, and we had to meet John Senior. So at that time, I wasn't allowed to sit at their main table. I had to sit at the company on the tables on the side with other guys like Jackie the Nose, his son, and I was sitting with them and other guys that we weren't allowed to sit at the main table, but we were there. Guys who weren't members as of yet. So, but we were there anyway. Like Joe Watts was there, who's Joe the German. He's a legend. Joe Watts, he's a great guy. Everybody loves him. All crews love him. So we were there that night, and who happens to come in but Sinatra? Sinatra walks in with about, I don't know, 8 or 10 people in his entourage. And he sits in the back, and they set him up real, because Jilly naturally is his best friend, and he set him up real nice. So John Senior, John Gotti, goes the waiter, he goes, here's a bottle, get a bottle of Cristal champagne. Cristal, Louis Roederer Cristal.
Big money.
Best champagne. It's better
back then.
You know, and at that time, that was the rosé. The rosé Cristal was even more money. It was like $350 a bottle. In a restaurant, maybe it's like $600, whatever it was. He sent the bottle over to Sinatra, and he said, he told the waiter, he said, tell Mr. Sinatra enjoy the champagne, and when he gets a chance, tell him to come over and say hello. I'll be here for a while. The waiter comes back in several moments, and he said, Mr. Gotti, Mr. Sinatra really enjoyed the champagne, but he's a little busy right now, and he really can't come over. Maybe some other time. And whoa, that was the wrong thing to say. Joe Watts got up immediately, and he waved to me and a couple of the other sons that were there. And we walked in the back, and Joe Watts coming up to him and said, yo, he says, let me tell you something. He goes, you know the old Blue Eyes? He says, if you don't get up and pay homage to my boss, you'll be known as old black and blue eyes in 2 minutes. I'll smear your head all over this floor.
So what you're
John,
telling
I
me
mean,
is,
Patrick got up. He got up like a whipped dog and went over there. He tries to make himself sound like he's a wise guy. That's all bullshit,
well,
plain English. He ain't
yeah,
like
well,
that. He's a sick.
he exactly. He had everybody
That's how
bullshitted.
it is. And yeah, exactly. Like every Tuesday night was Shape Up Night. That's when we would have to go. That was on Mulberry Street. We'd have to go and see.
Right.
Tell you a funnier story. We're coming out of the Harlem tunnel, right? We're in a limousine that night because Cabert wanted to take a limousine. So we're in the limousine with Cabert, Little Sammy, my father, me, Tony Proto at the time. Tony Proto ran the local 342 of the laborers in Newark.
Laborers
This is
in
before he
Jersey.
got in 92 and before my father took it over, and thus before I took it over. So he was in charge of it at the time. So we're all in the limousine. We get out of the Lincoln Tunnel, and there was a black guy washing the windows. He wanted to get a tip. They clean your windows coming out at the light right on Canal Street. So
We
he
know
washed
exactly what
the
you're talking
windows.
about.
He came to the back window. He came out to the back window and he said, they rolled the window down. He looked in. He went like this. He went, if I was ever looking at 4 crooks, I was looking at him now. We started laughing. It was so funny. Gebert says, give him a 50. He gave him a $50 bill. We laughed so hard about that because he said, I was ever looking at four crooks. I'm looking at him now. It was just so hilarious because he just knew just by looking at us what the hell we were. It was funny. Really funny.
There's a lot of people, Jimmy, me and you, we go on for hours, and I'm sure there's a few names I see in the chat. Again, you know, we'll understand. And you're being very clear for somebody that wasn't in the life, around the life, on record in the life, whatever word we want to use, straightened out, whatever. We have a way of saying things, and some people that don't understand the life won't have a single clue of what we just said to each other. So, I'm sure
Exactly.
everybody appreciates you. Be being yourself. But I want to get back to the Frank Sinatra thing. I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to share this because you brought it up. I was told, not actually told from being in the street, but it was told by old timers to me long before I ever wound up being getting involved in the street. And it was told to me from people I love, very close to me, that raised me, father, grandfather, family. And I never understood why Frank Sinatra was not a fan in my family's home. And I get a little older, and I know, everybody loves the music, whatever, whatever. I personally, a few songs and that's it. So one day my father says, I noticed my father, big Dean Martin guy. So we would always hear the Dean Martin stuff in the house. And I guess I was in my teenage years there. And I said, Dad, you don't like Frank Sinatra? I, I won't use the exact words because they weren't clean, but basically he's like, that mutt, they made him, he thinks who he is. He's a nothing. He's a nobody. And when they tell him to jump, he says how high. All you're doing is confirming everything I was told at
Exactly. That's
15.
exactly right. Yeah.
But most people don't know
Right.
that.
That's exactly right. Right. Because everybody thinks of him as a singer. They want to play his records like they're thinking by playing Sinatra, that means that they're in tune with the wise guy. That's all BS. That's all bull. Because Frank Sinatra was not
Welcome,
nothing.
Gianni.
He always that's what he was, a wannabe, and like he looked up to that. But at the same time, though, trust me, there was a couple
Oh
of
yeah.
times where he owned a studio apartment, and they went to him once, and he almost started hyperventilating at the table, like where they told him that, look, no, this particular property, so and so wants it, and that was it, and he just shut his mouth, and he just he don't even say like, well, I'll go get the Chicago guys to sit down for me. That's all BS. That's all bull. He don't have that clout. He wants people to make him think that, but he's a singer. That's all he is.
The,
He's a
the,
singer.
the act was great because it worked for Hollywood. They would, the way they would do it with Don Rickles and all these guys, they would bow to him and act like, he was a wise guy
Right.
and all this. Meanwhile, the people
Well,
didn't know that this
was
guy was being fucking preyed upon. They would, like a leech.
there
They
was a
treated him
friend of
like a
mine,
fucking
right? And
dog.
my friend just passed away. My friend Dominic loved him as far as his singing goes. He really believed that he was a made guy. I said,
Yeah,
"Come
he
on." I
walked
said,
around like he
"Dom,
thought
he's
he had
not
a
no
button.
made guy."
I'm surprised he
Yeah,
didn't get
yeah,
slapped just for that,
it's
especially
crazy.
back then.
No, well,
You
no,
know?
no. If he did the wrong thing, naturally, if he would have got, they don't care. They don't care how many songs he
Yeah, I don't give a
sings. He would
shit.
have got slapped.
I, and we and this thing, we're just drifting into Sinatra. We're gonna, we started off just talking about dinner, but I'm glad you brought up the Sinatra thing because there was so many things, and you actually, I knew my little world. You know what I mean? That's another thing. Many people don't understand truly. You're wrapped up in. Let's just say I was where I was, you were where you were, right? Right?
Right.
We're wrapped up,
Like
right?
people don't even realize, like Norby
You know
Walters.
where
Norby
I'm going.
Walters was a exactly. Norby Walters is one of the big agents for singers and even in rap stars, you know.
Yeah, he was big.
But
I
they
heard.
don't even realize it. Norby has a lot of friends, and we were friends with him, just like we were friends with Stanley Hoffman from Prelude Records. He owned France Jolie at the time. There's so much stuff going on behind the scenes
Look at
where
Dave.
you know where you get houses off of these artists, and these artists don't even know you got a piece of them.
Todd Father, thank you.
It's funny. It's really funny.
Without a doubt. Yeah, and I don't want to waste too much time on Sinatra because, you know, we didn't do the show about him. But I just, being that you brought it up, I figured it'd be a good time for me to just share what little I knew about his history. And obviously, you knew a lot more about his history. And
Well, I was right there. I was right there when that happened. So if he was somebody, trust me, nobody would have went up to him and said that to him. They would have went to his guy and said, "Listen, your friend's out of line, blah blah
straighten
blah." But
out
they wouldn't have did that to him publicly. If he
without a
was,
doubt.
if he was, but if he was around somebody, but he's not around nobody. He wasn't that way at all. But anyway, let's move on to anything else you want to
I
know
gotta
about.
just read. I gotta read one thing to you. Gianni, first of all, awesome to see you, brother. An old friend and boss and relative by marriage of mine back in the 60s at the Dunes, Sinatra was drunk. He was losing. He needed 10,000. Skyball says no. Sinatra insults him. This guy Skyball knocks him out. This was in Vegas years ago.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it because you know
I'm
what?
surprised he
In
didn't
front of
run to
women, he
anybody.
would
The
talk dirty.
punk.
He would talk real dirty in front of women. He would have no respect.
Yeah, you told me
He's
that
like
when we
he's
see
like
you
a real
speaking.
crump. Yeah, he's a real creep. Like, believe me. Like,
All right, so
aside from his singing ability, otherwise as a human being, he's not really well liked. Trust me, he wasn't well liked. That's how
you
it
know
was.
what? The same way we feel that we're not going to give guys that, that went bad in their life, whatever word people want to use for them. I don't want to give them an ounce of our energy as you don't want to give them an ounce. We're not going to give Sinatra no more fucking wordplay. I want to ask you something.
No,
After this,
he was a great performer, but that's where
yeah,
it ends.
that's great.
That's about it.
Yeah, good. I want to ask you about and we're going to go on in a second to another dinner you had. But many you've had many. Um, when you're at Jilly's, right? And you're young, you're just making, not young, you know what I mean. But you're not straightened out, but you're respected enough to be there. I understand that totally.
I
How
was
did
in my
you?
early 30s. Yeah.
Right. So I understand what it's to like to have to sit at another table, and I understand that totally. How did it feel to be around such big names, or did it just it's a normal thing? Try to explain to people. Is it a normal thing, or are you
For
feeling
me, it
excited?
wasn't. No, it was a normal thing. Be like I told you, there were stories where we went down to see Nicky Scarfo, and we're in his office at Scarf Inc. in Philly, and uh, behind his desk there was I think I told you this. There was a big picture of a professional baseball field, but nobody was in the stands. But you see the diamond, but there's nobody there. And I asked him. I said, Nick, why do you have that picture there? And he said, I'm glad you asked me that. He says, I keep that picture there to remind all my guys to touch base. Like they're just classic lines. Then
Absolutely. El
upon
Toro,
my
yes.
personal, I'd be up at his house in Saugerties, upstate New York in Saugerties, 275 acres. His wealth was staggering. 60,
With who?
63rd
What?
grade.
Carmine Persico's?
Yes, yes, yes. Because
You
Ali
were
Boy, I
close
was
with.
close with his son. Yes,
Now,
close with his
being
son
that you
because my
brought up,
father
being
was
that you
his.
brought, I know you were close with. People don't know this, but if you, I know I could say this. It's no big deal. He's passed on. I know, even though you were with the Gambino side of things, but you became close with a big Colombo guy, Andy Russo. Is that correct? Your
Yeah,
dad?
well, we were locked up together. We were in Otisville together, locked up with my father, Andrew. And we were there with what at the time was Funzi Cisco at the time. Funzi was
Cisco.
there. Arnold Squitieri was there.
Squateri?
We were all there. That was our side, but as far as um, being when I was with Andrew. Andrew liked me so much because I was so good with the cards, and Andrew was pretty good with card tricks too, but not to the level I was. He would say, "Jim, show me how to do that." And I would show him with my hands. I said, "Well, do this move and that." And it would cup your hand. He goes, "Nah, I can't. How am I going to do that?" He says, "I can't." But he loved my talent when it came to that stuff. Andrew was really like see, Andrew would do things with celebrities like James Caan. James Caan was Andrew
Godson, right? Godfather?
uh, was Andrew.
Godfather was kid.
No, yeah, he was Godfather. He was got right for his son.
Godfather to
Andrew
Conson,
was
yeah.
Godfather to James Caan's son. And when he was on trial, James Caan went there. James Caan used to come up there to visit him, and he would be in the visiting room. And Lainey Kazan was there a lot of times to see Andrew. She was a star back in the 60s, 70s from being on the Ed Sullivan Show, and she would be there. And see, Andrew would do things where even though he knew so many celebrities, he might have done things even when it cost him money. But he knew because this way, if he had to call upon them to, let's say, open up for a new particular establishment that they had, he knew how to make sure
Absolutely.
that he tickled their fancy, and they would be right there to make sure that they made sure that his place would flourish. Andrew just knew that. Andrew was a genius when it came down to business and the other business
Absolutely.
too.
And, and I've told you
And he was a
off.
hell of an artist too.
Yep, yep.
You got to see his
I have
paintings that
told
he
you
drew in
off.
there. Hell of an
I've
artist.
told you off camera that although I was, where I was and who I was around, I had
Yes.
my father, was childhood friends with Andrew's side of things. We'll just put it like that way. And
Right.
it's crazy because when we were young kids, we all had. My father gave us all that little, and it was during that Joe Colombo movement, and we all had those cards. And I think my old man was active with
My
that thing. You know what I
my
mean? I'm not.
father my my father was the president of the Italian American Civil Rights League of the New Jersey
Yeah,
headquarters. It was
we
on
had the little
Bloomfield
card,
Avenue in North.
pen.
It was right there, and it had a pool table and a jukebox, and I thought who the hell I was as a young kid. I was able to hang there, and I didn't have to pay. I didn't have to pay any money for the jukebox or to play pool games. So I thought who the hell I was. I'm only like 12 or 13 years old, not realizing. See, everybody. My father was
Second Avenue
romanced by
crew.
all the different crews. My father was romanced by all the crews, but every time it came time to open the books to get straightened out, he always got locked up and was away. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
Everybody
So,
loved my father.
so
Like
yeah,
when
right. Your
Tommy
dad didn't get.
Eberly was alive, they used to call him
Yeah,
Tommy Ryan. He was the acting boss before the chin. He loved my father. They want Andrew Carmine Persco loved my father too. It all became it was always there, but it's just that he was always happened to be in trouble at the time. That's the problem, and he never got a chance to be there until he finally found his home with John Gotti's side, with the Gambino side.
like I want to answer
That's
this
what he was
question,
famous
but
for.
I want to answer this question that somebody put up. Gianni, who awesome dude, great part of the show, and the channel, big supporter of it for everybody. Gianni, I really would love to tell you, even though I was on record with another family, that starts with an L. Everybody knows it already. You know, it's whatever. You can figure it out. You know it someday. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be on another show, and I'm going to talk about a lot of that stuff because they're going to be talking to me about it. So I'll let you guys know where I am tomorrow night. This is not about me. I just want to say something about your comment. Jimmy's speaking about Andy Mush. And we grew up, me and my brothers, we grew up. My father was very active with that movement. Now, does that mean he was a made Colombo guy? No. It's just that a lot of guys from where he was grew up in. I saw Toro put Second Avenue. My father was from 116th and between Second and Third. But um, you had a lot of guys came out of Harlem who went Lucchese, who went Genovese, who went Gambino, who went Colombo. You know, a lot of guys came out of Harlem, and just like a lot of guys from certain parts of Jersey came. You know, it just seems like there's certain areas are breeding grounds for. Let's face it, Cosa Nostra. That's just the way it is,
Uh,
or the way it
well,
was.
there's a quick story, Craig. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
when my
please. They
father
want to
was
hear it.
younger, one time, one time, him and his friend, I'll just say his first name, Nicky, him, Nicky,
Mm,
and another guy, they hit Engelhart. Engelhart Industries it's a big where they deal with precious metals a lot, and they were a
gotcha.
refinery for precious
Mm,
metals, whether it was platinum, gold. He came home one morning. One morning he came out late one night, but the next morning it was a bamboo case.
Princeton
Opened it
Tower
up,
Street.
and there was bottles of real heavy bottles, like in glass, but it was so heavy. It was pure liquid gold, 24 karat. See, gold in its pure state is very soft, but it was almost like liquid. That's how pure it was. And then there was these bales and strings of pure platinum, and then these platinum uh, plates, like platelets. So
Yeah,
they
no,
at the
I got you.
time were trying to get this offense. So he went to Little Italy, and who he happens is he runs into, he sees Sonny Franchese. At the time, my father sat down. It was him and Nicky go there, and they had the deal. He's telling him what he had and all that. Then he says, "Well, Sonny, so let me see it." So he showed it to him. He says, "Okay, don't worry, you got it. Your end will be 170,000." This is in the 70s. I remember. I'm young. I'm like 14, 15 years old. And he says to him, he goes, "Come tomorrow. You got 170,000 coming." So Nicky says to my father, he says, "Juice," he says, "we come back here tomorrow." He says, we're not going to come back alive. He says, "No, no, no. This sounds right." And so he came back. And this was Nicky telling me this story much years later. He goes, the only reason why they paid your father, with Sonny Franchise paid your father, because they knew who your father was and the respect they had for your father. And he wasn't even made then. This is how much they
Absolutely.
loved my dad.
You
This is
just
the kind of the reputation he had.
well, I mean,
All crews knew him. They loved him.
if
And he
anybody
went there
wants
and he
to,
got it 170,000. He got the money, and he wound up losing it. He wound up losing
Yeah.
it, and he started shooting dice again. It's juicy numbers. He wound up losing it.
Yeah, and I told you while I was a crap player myself, so I understand. They didn't call me juicy though; they called me loser because I never won. But anyway, I want to say something about if anybody wants to
Well,
know how
you're a winner to me. You're my
that.
winner.
Well, that's
Don't
in a
worry about
different way. Thank you, Jimmy, and we wouldn't be together if we didn't both feel the same way. Absolutely, friend is a friend. And now I want to say something. It has to do with your dad. I know we got so many things we're gonna talk about over God knows how many months. With and we'll try to give a little bit and keep stuff live because there's so much to do. But I want to just mention because you brought it up. I mean, when I was making this thumbnail, I told you I was just trying to because I'm really learning to create these thumbnails. And as a Wyatt Oak, welcome in, buddy. Thank you for joining us. And I'm coming up with this thumbnail, and all of a sudden, I mean, just a plethora of paperwork is coming out on you, your dad, Kabert, Sammy. The whole chart, everything. I just want to say, if anybody's interested in reading about who your dad really was and how well thought of he was, because a lot of people might not understand, and I want them to truly understand. If you could say you know the life because you have a friend of a friend of a friend, but unless you are directly involved in the life, meaning I don't care if you're straightened out, obviously more power. But if you're a very reliable associate and you are around 7 days a week, 24/7, you see, there's differences in associates, as you know. You got guys that they didn't want around, just come by once a week, and then you got guys that would that I was a 7 day a week, 24 hours a day. Not that's at that time of my life. That's how much time I put
it.
into it.
I used to run. I used to run all the after-hour clubs in Staten Island for Johnny
Yeah,
Moose.
that's
Now,
what I'm saying.
Johnny Moose was Genovese. He was Genovese, but he was Johnny DiGilio's right hand. Johnny DiGilio was the Genovese New Jersey boss, the Jersey faction of the Genovese family. Johnny DiGilio was
Yes,
wild.
Dion.
He wound up getting killed, but Johnny Moose was his right hand man. Johnny Moose Marone. So I would be with Johnny Moose for like 3 years, and all the time he would say, Jimmy, crack that guy in the face, show him where we ain't fag. So naturally, I got to go give this guy a beating, this and that. There was 3 weekends in a row I got shot at. I'm still lucky to be alive. The Staten Island Advance had me right there. Right there it says 5 men were involved in a shootout, an early morning shootout. It was in Donegan Hills section of Staten
I know
Island,
Dongan
and it
Hills.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. They went over it because when he told us, because when I beat up this one kid in the after hour club, they wound up following us the next morning because we wound up staying there. Because Johnny doesn't want to stop. He wants to keep drinking. Another vodka and grapefruit. And he's drinking and drinking. So I'm with him. So I'm going to stay with him. So we wound up going to the diner. So behind this was another car coming. So I was following Johnny with his Cadillac. I tooted my horn. I pointed. I said, behind us, these guys are here. The kid Jackie was there. His name was
Thank
Jackie
you,
Sheriff.
Gianni.
He's dead now. So I can tell you. Yeah. So all of a sudden, he comes out. He says, "Hey, John." He had his hand in his pocket like he was going to take a gun out. We don't have any guns with us, so I'm telling him. I said, "John, let's do this thing cool." So he backs the kid up with words. He says, "Oh, what are you doing, Jackie? You coming here now? You know you're wrong." He said, "We're going to have to do a sit down about this tomorrow." So now we got away with scathed
Yes,
without
Toro.
any violence. Tells me,
Yes.
he goes, Jimmy, you see that kid in the back seat? The kid was sleeping in the back seat. He goes, when I call him outside, I want you to show him that we're not fags. I says, okay. He calls him out. He says, what do you want? I go, boom, boom, bang. The kid was in the passenger seat, comes out with a gun. He starts going, boom, boom, blowing shots at me. Let me tell you something. It ain't like in the movies where they go, "Yeah, you miss me, happy birthday." No, you hit the ground. You hit the ground. You start scrambling so you don't get shot. And then the cops came in with their guns out like this, and they told the kid he had the gun.
Dex, is that for
So he
Jimmy? You want to know where he hung
he
out?
ran. No, no, he ran to the wall. He ran to the
Yeah.
wall, and the cops wound up arresting him. We just got in our cars and just drove away. We got so lucky we didn't get locked up with that. Lucky they didn't get shot. But Johnny Moose was a nut. Forget about it. I was with him every every weekend. Was a fiasco with him.
Get. Can you do me
That
a
was in
favor,
the
Jimmy?
80s. These are my friends. These are my
Yeah. Can
friends.
you
Yeah.
do me? Can you do me a favor just for our guests that are here? Can you explain,
What's it?
or you don't have to explain, but give them an idea? You're a Gambino guy. Your father's a high-ranking Gambino guy. You're eventually going to get straightened out. That's the goal, and that's going to happen. How is it that you're able to work something with a Genovese crew? How does that? Maybe somebody don't understand that. You know?
No, no, that
Yeah.
was prior. That was prior to. That was in the early 80s. My father was in Leesburg. He was with Joey Merlino. They were in jail in Leesburg prison in
Right.
southern Jersey. So at that time, Johnny Moose went down to see my father to get permission to have me under his wing. Again, until my father was straightened out, you're always moving with different people to see where your home is going to be. You don't know where your home is going to be yet. It wasn't until the 90s. My father was 60 when he was straightened out. That's
Straight. Yeah,
unheard
but
of.
yeah, but that was only
No man
because. Yeah, but that was only because he was always in. That's because he was always
right?
upstate
Yeah,
or in
but
another country.
exactly, because this
He
is
was
how
always
much
locked up.
they respected him.
Yeah.
Right. He was always locked up. But they never make a guy that old because they want the longevity from you to keep earning so
Grab you when
so
you're
the
young.
pyramid system.
You got to milk
Exactly.
the rock. You got
The
to
milk
milk it.
what?
I got somebody that's asking a
Like I
question.
said,
First,
so in other words, yeah, I was with Ali Boy in the late 70s. I was in his after hour club dealing cards. Then it was with Johnny Moose, Genovese guys. Then it became Gambino, where we finally found our correct home. So
that's how.
in other words, but whenever you're going to be straightened out, they ask everybody in each crew, do you have any beefs against this guy? We're going to
Of
straighten him
course.
out. They make sure that you have a clean bill of health before they straighten you out. So
Well,
therefore,
a lot of people don't know
everybody
that that
works
piece of paper goes to everybody.
right. Everybody works for everybody. Everybody knows everybody when you're on the inside.
Right.
That's
So
bullshit that you don't know. Everybody knows everybody
everybody.
until you find your home.
Absolutely.
And on that note, let's save something for the next time, my brother, because I love you. And it's getting
I
time for
think you're
my
right.
fiddle, and I'm a little hungry.
All right. Before you go, I want to ask you one thing. I want the crew to stay with me for a minute because I want to talk to my crew for a while. I want to ask you one thing before you go because I know you're going to be with me. You know, we're going to be together once a week or whatever. This is a good one. Not a good one, but it's something that reminds me of something that we're talking about until you find a home, and it's so true because I originally um, was with a Brooklyn crew, and it was you remember the old yogurt company, and it was think of the old names of the yogurt company. We said Andy Mush, so fuck it, we could say it. I was originally around Colombo, guys. Okay,
Okay.
and then you talk about how until you find a home, do me a favor, go to the Bronx, bop, 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 and before you know it, I wind up with the L's. And that's how it worked. So it was like a baseball
That's what
trade.
I'm trying to say. Until
Trades go
until
on.
that particular door, the door is always unlocked with all the other crews, but it swings open when the one they see that what your worth is, you're worth your weight in gold. They'll tell you to come in. That's how it is.
Absolutely.
So,
Jimmy, I want to tell you, I know
Greg, I love
everybody in
you.
here. Go ahead.
I love you.
I just
I want to see you again the next time. because I gotta make my macaroni. I'm hungry.
All right, do me a favor, save me a bowl. The crowd loves you. Everybody
Okay,
loves
pal.
you.
Oh,
All right, I love you.
I'm a
I'll give
good
you a
cook.
call tomorrow or whatever.
The day I got locked up, I was hired at Nero's in Livingston Avenue in Livingston, New Jersey, to be their chef at $1,500 a week. I never made the gig. I got locked up that day. It was funny.
Save it for the
Anyway,
next
and
one.
laugh.
Listen, I love
All
you.
right,
I'll talk to you
you got it.
tomorrow. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Love you, pal.
Love
All
you,
right,
buddy.
pal.
Good night.
All right, talk to you soon.
Guys, stick around. I want to ask you guys something. I want to talk to the crew here. Before we're good, if you guys are good, I'm okay with hanging for a while. If you just want to bail, I get it. I always thank you for spending any time with us. Toro, thank you. Baywatcher, some Mikey, some new names. If you guys liked anything, I never do this. I always forget, and I don't like doing it. But you know what? If you like it, hit the like for me. If we could keep coming up. Anybody knows me knows I don't want to talk bullshit. I'll only talk or comment on things that I directly know about. Now, this is Jimmy's story, but if I ever say something, it's something that I have knowledge of or was involved with. Um, I just don't. I always want to keep it real. So if you guys like, just like, subscribe. But now let's shoot the breeze if you want a little bit. Anybody wants to? I'm going to go on a show tomorrow night, and there's some things that you guys might hear tomorrow night because I'm going to open up a little bit about myself. Because I don't believe in glorifying things. Number one, and I'm not going to glorify shit, but your past is your past, so you can't run from it. So if there's anything somebody wants to ask me about anything about that life, feel free to do it. And maybe I'll tell you something here. I think I owe it to you guys that are here and sub to the show before I go and say it on another show tomorrow night because I have respect for where I'm going to be tomorrow night. And I'll tell you guys whose show I'm going to be on before we go. I'll tell it to you now. I'm going to be on the Truth and Review show tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Hard Truth and Review with OG Mike and Loomis. And we're going to have a very good conversation, but it's going to be pertaining to me and how I grew up. And, if you guys want to ask me anything about anything, who I was with, what I was around, guys I was around, if I could say the name, I will. If they're active, I won't. I'm able to use this name with my name on it because I have nothing to hide from. I did things the right way. When the time came, whatever was going to come my way would come my way. That's not tough guy shit. That's just the way it is. You sign up for something to the door. Somebody said something, and this is the truth. Would you rather live 100 years as a mouse or one day as a lion? I don't want an answer. But men, think about that. I'm not talking about gangster shit. Your morals. Some things in life should be non-negotiable. That's me. There's certain things in my life are non-negotiable. Whether it's my children, my faith, certain things I feel like there's certain ways I feel about certain people that are in these genre shows and stuff like that. We still have 21 people here. I want to tell you guys some things before you hear it somewhere else, and then you guys say to me, "How it's not right," and you guys would have a case. You know what I mean? So if there's something you want to shoot the breeze, we can shoot the breeze. All right, I'll tell you straight up. Toro, my whole family was from East Harlem because you said the Second Avenue crew. There's people in this room. I'm going to eventually get to their history because I married into that family. Um, their whole family's from Harlem. So there's a bunch of people in this room that originally came from East Harlem, which was known from back then. Have you found it true that Alavaka sauce is an American creation and you get a bad reception asking for it in a real New York City. Big Bart told me he was stunned. Matty. All right, let me say this. Let me say this. Um, I want to know who came up with Allah. I mean, vodka sauce wasn't good enough. We had to go with Allah. Allah vodka. What makes it more Italian? I don't know. I know I didn't eat it growing up. I don't know what year it started, but I like it personally. I enjoy it. Gianni, Pleasant Avenue. Yes, family from Pleasant Avenue. Although I told you my my family came from 116th between second and third, but there's people in the chat that their families came from between First and Pleasant. Absolutely. And we're gonna interview tomorrow night. Maybe you'll hear things that you definitely haven't heard in any of my videos yet. And I'm gonna speak on because I owe it to them. If I'm gonna go on their show, like I was on Stacks early when I started this YouTube thing, and I held back a little bit because I don't feel I'm always I feel like even though if somebody's passed on, I don't like throwing names around and stuff like that. But sometimes you have to if it's to straighten somebody out that's telling a false story about somebody. So that's what those interviews, those videos I did about cleanups with the chiclet. I did those videos where you know I was just saying he was telling a half a story because I happened to be in the Bronx running around, right? And the guy he was talking about was a guy in the same family I was with, and I knew them directly. And I wasn't being a pom pom guy, because he was just making a guy out to be a punk, and he was making his wife out to be a pig. And I think that's classless, to tell you the truth. Your bedroom should stay in your home, let alone taking somebody else's bedroom and put it in the street. So that was why I went after him on that, because I had intimate knowledge of it. The same thing with when he said they had a hit on a kid, Joey Borelli. That wasn't his name. Benelli. We went through that. So I had intimate knowledge of it because I had a dealing with that kid Benelli, like we talked about. So I'll only speak on things that I was intimately involved with and knew about. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, you're going to hear things tomorrow night that I haven't said. Not a big deal, but I'm not gonna go on somebody's show. I've decided I'm not gonna go on somebody's show. And if they have a question they're gonna ask me, I'm gonna give them the answer. I'm not gonna be so tight-lipped. Especially it's not hurt. It's definitely not hurting nobody. And that's really that. I want to give a shout out to my man. You guys, listen, Cinnamon Girl. If you know how to drop a link for New York Crime Spot, I don't know. That's my man. He's like chatting with Stacks. He's helped me so much. Early on, man. I'm telling you, I couldn't make a thumbnail. Like it got to the point where I would have somebody maybe draw me a thumbnail, take a picture of it, and try to use that. That's how bad it was. So he's got a great channel. Comes from a totally different angle. It's like a documentary. What my man does. It's totally journalistic. I love his work. I would not be grandstanding for somebody that I'm not fond of. I don't give a shit if he's a nice guy or not. Check out his show. If somebody could drop his link, Brett, if you know how to drop the link, drop it. I don't know how to do it. I told you that earlier. Toro talks about Patsy's. I used to eat in Patsy's a lot. Now I was old, my family was already out of Harlem. But whenever I was uptown, but believe it or not, the crew I was with in the Bronx, we were in Manhattan a lot, but mostly downtown Manhattan for whatever reason. There was reasons, but we were in Manhattan often, but it was usually downtown. But whenever we got a chance to go uptown, we would bang out, forget it, 5, 6 pies. You could eat those things like nothing. Wyatt Earp says, the last time I was in the Bronx, I was shot at a drive-by. I hate the south side of the Bronx. I don't blame you. You got shot. I understand what you mean about the South Bronx. It's a tough. You got to survive, but I got to tell you, um, even in the life, yeah, people think, oh, you're only in Italian neighborhoods or you're only in certain neighborhoods. I was in the South Bronx often, Hunts Point. I can name them all. I lived in some of the roughest areas. Just because you're in the street or you're running around, one day you could have 50,000 in your pocket, 20,000 in your pocket, and the next day you're dead broke. Nobody knows it because you look good, you dress good. Nobody knows it, but that's a fact. The smart guys put money away, and the spenders are going to spend. So you got it one day, and you broke the next. Crime Spot says, Johnny, what's up, my brother? Dex Dallas, you got anything you want to share? Joey Blunts, I just subscribed in all capital letters. Look, man, I'm trying to keep this going. If you guys want me to wrap it up, I'll wrap it up. I'm here for you guys. You guys are beautiful enough to come in here. I'm not bailing on nobody. So if you want to get rid of me, tell me. I'll bounce. I'm not, I don't like yes men. I always tell you guys that. I don't like to surround myself with yes people. I never did. I always want to be told what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. That don't help me. It doesn't help anybody. Unfortunately, a lot of people want to be told what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. But everybody has different. Really, Mikey, your family was from Harlem too? If you can tell me where in Harlem. Crime Spot, you're my dog. You know that, man. Cinnamon Girl, you were able to drop that? You are awesome, Cinnamon. Thank you so much. Brett is good people, man. He's good people. I wouldn't be chatting with Stacks and Tommy Stiggs and all the people that have helped, Todd Father, Dean Do, all people that have helped me. Hard Truth and Reviews, where I'm going to be tomorrow night. If you can find a link for them, drop it. If you can, that's cool. We'll figure it out. We'll be with them tomorrow, and they're good people, man. They're good guys, just good guys. I'm trying to see if Brett, Brett, you need to hear this, brother. I hope you're still here, Brett. Gianni says you got some great shows, so I ain't the only one that thinks that, my man. Matt's saying something about Maspeth. The pickle. Oh, Greg Piquel, Bill Piquel, football. Yes, yeah. I worked at Maspeth for a while as a young kid with a refrigeration company. Benny knows the people I worked with. And he's just not in the chat. He might be watching the show. He knows who we're talking about. They had a refrigeration company in Maspeth, so we were in Maspeth all the time. And then later in life, I became friends with a bunch of Dex Dallas's guys, and I would be in Maspeth with a lot of Bonanno guys. And I wasn't a Bonanno guy, but I had some friends that were Bonanno guys. So we'd be in Joey Messino's restaurant. He had a big restaurant in Maspeth, and all the guys would patronize his restaurant. And by the way, it was a great restaurant, great food. I can't say, he turned out to be what he is. That's on him. Mikey, I'm putting it up now. 108th and 2nd, early 1900s. So your grandparents or whoever, I don't know, Mikey, your age group, but your ancestors, whether it be your mom, dad, grandparents, came here in the early 1900s, kind of like mine, grandparents, and came to Harlem. It's crazy because a lot of people don't know this about Harlem. Everybody talks about Purple Gang, Purple Gang, Purple Gang. But people that have Harlem ancestry in them, from hearing this and that, I grew up hearing all the stories, and there's people in the room that will confirm this. Harlem, East Harlem, what it was known as, there was, I won't say the word gangs, but there was, like, you had the Purple Gang, you had every block, like every 2 blocks, was made up of another name gang. So, like, my father was with a crew called the Red Wings. There was a group. There's somebody in this chat. We're going to talk about his family, his life story, because it bleeds into mine. It's going to be some good, really good content for those that love this genre. It's real. Um, his family came from a group called the Braves. They were more from that 108, 106 area. So every area of Harlem had so many different names of gangs, crews, whatever you want to call them. And the Purple Gang gets the most, everybody wants to quote the Purple Gang. And obviously, there's a few guys that came out of the Purple Gang. Angelo Prisco, rest his soul, being one of them. But I'll tell you this. Again, I told you about the family that I first married into. And as a young kid, grew up around um, the family. Benny Salerno's family. Um, I can tell you there was a lot of those names. A couple of those names. They grew up with were tight with his dad. Somebody very big in the Bronx was in his dad's wedding party. A Harlem guy who's no longer with us. Very big name. I'll say it. His name was Anthony Luongo. He disappeared because some say gas pipe and Vicar Musso were worried that Dux was going to make him the boss and there'd be too much power in the Bronx. But he's a Harlem guy. He disappeared. They were worried, concerned about too much power in the Bronx. And Benny's late father was dear friends with him and the Prisco. So what I'm saying is there was a lot of different crews and a lot of different people came from different crews. Purple Gang gets talked about a lot. Cool. That's what people know. They talk about it. I don't care either way. But non-Harlem people, or maybe people in the life, or maybe there is guys in the life not from Harlem that might not know this shit. But every crew had somebody. More guys. I don't know if, and it's not a competition, but there's so many guys that came out of East Harlem that became, what you would say legendary in life. And anybody that spent a day in that life, it's not the greatest life to live. Trust me. You just don't know what's going to happen, and you're always looking to impress. You're always looking to. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what you're going to be asked. You never know a lot of things, and you never know who's going to turn on you, act like your best friend, and I've heard of horrible things. People get jealous, for whatever reason, and you don't even know it. You don't even know you have a problem. Somebody might have somebody's ear, right? So let's just say somebody's close to somebody that's got a position, right? A good position, a higher up position, but he's got the ear of that guy, and he don't like you because you're either a big earner or he's afraid of you, whatever reason. He could be pissing in that guy's ear who's got the power that you're doing all sorts of bad things. You're robbing, you're stealing, you're sleeping with somebody's wife or girlfriend, and you don't know it. You won't know it. And you wind up disappearing, and you never even had a problem. You never knew you had a problem. And you're gone. That's what I mean by it's you just don't you just don't know. Now while you're in the mix of this shit, you're not really thinking about that. But when you have time to reflect on all of that, could have easily happened. Could easily happen. And people, I've seen the biggest beefs over bullshit. And one thing I was taught: never make a beef over a woman. Or it's no secret. A lot of guys in that life have gumadas, girlfriends. They're married, but they've always got two or three on the side. That's the life. That's Now there were some old timers that don't believe in that and don't agree with that. So I'm not gonna say all. I won't paint with a broad brush because I don't know everybody. I don't know everybody. I can tell you the group I was around. Yeah. So people get jealous and over the stupidest shit, the stupidest shit. And I mean, bad stuff. You hear of crazy stories that are true and over nonsense. It's really in the grand scheme of thing, bullshit. And so you're taught never make a beef over a girl. Oh, he's looking at that. So what they would do is very common. They'll create a beef over something else, but it's really over you have something that somebody else might want. So they'll never go to somebody that's able to make those kind of decisions in their life and say, look, we got a problem with this guy and it's over a girl. This girl didn't want to date me. She's with him. You can't do that because he'll look like a punk you can't do that. So they'll always say, well, we don't argue. No, that happens a lot. And so they think of another way. They can't use the girl thing. So they'll say, he's hanging around this place. I think he's making money. He's not turning it in. Whatever. They'll come up whatever to create a problem. You know what I mean? And that works. It happens. Listen, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff can happen in that life. I made the mistake. I don't regret it. It's going to sound, you know, but I would never want anybody to ever. You know what I was going to say, especially today, ever, because nothing good comes out of it. Everything I was always told as a kid, and I was told this as a young kid, maybe too young. Two things are guaranteed. You're either going to get killed and you're just waiting to go to jail. It's just a matter of when. That's a fact. There's not many people that retire and collect a pension. Not many. Not many. There's only been a handful. I don't know their names, but there's been a few that were able to live the life and be able to walk away, and walk off into the sunset. But it's very rare. It usually ends in a jail cell or you disappeared and your family lives with that forever. Your family lives with wondering where you are and what happened, and your children grow up fatherless or grandfatherless, whatever the case may be, like some very close people to me grew up fatherless. And again, jealousy plays a big part in that life. And it's like anything else. I forget that saying, whoever's got all the gold makes the rules. It's like some fucking stupid saying. Whatever. Well, whoever's got the boss's ear or somebody that's got some say so, whoever's got his ear, you better hope if you're in his crew, you get along with him because he could make your life miserable and you won't even know why. Mikey, did you say that clown from Detroit today is giving Tommy a go? Creep. Bucky? Somebody's giving who a tough time? Who? Stiggs? Somebody's giving Stiggs? Fitness after 60. That's what I'm talking about. Great, Toro. I'm sorry, Toro. You're still here. If you're still here, Toro, give me a thumbs up in the question box. I just saw it now. I apologize, man. I'll answer your question for you. Toro, you still out there? I want to answer your question, and I want to answer it. I believe I've answered it but you probably weren't here. You probably weren't here when I answered it, but I'll answer it now for whoever hasn't heard me the first time around. Mikey, explain that to me, brother. Whatever's going on, you want to talk, we'll talk about it. I'm sure you'll explain it. Um, let's get back to Toro's question. He asked, hold on a minute. The FBI brought the mafia to its knees. Absolutely 100%. And you can look at it another way too. They brought themselves to their knees with, you know, a lot of bad decisions, but whatever. That's whoever has the gold makes the rules. Now, Toro, I want to go back to your question. I'll try and find it so I can put it up so people can see it. You asked me, did I ever go to college for the fellas? Okay, so tomorrow night you'll hear it in full. I'll just tell you this: I got rounded up in 2001 in a Lucchese roundup. Okay, I got rounded up in 2001. If you read the article, and I'm gonna make it, I don't keep scrapbooks. You know what I mean? Like I think that's fucking corny. Like anybody that does that. But so I get pinched in 2001 with everybody. With everybody. I think 12, 13 of us got rounded up. Now, anybody that knows how these roundups work is um, sometimes, a lot of times, they'll round up more than what's needed to be rounded up, um, just to see if, the numbers will show. The more we round up, the more people will get talking. But in my case, what happened was, we get rounded up, and we were all together. Which four guys are in the MDC in this cell in the Tombs? They call it the Tombs. You guys from New York know the Tombs. It was a state case, organized crime task force. My charges, the main seven guys were charged with, and you'll read the paper clipping because it's going to be posted tomorrow on that show. But it talks about a lot of things that went on in this case. I got put into the case on a separate indictment. I got charged with an extortion charge. So I didn't get charged with the enterprise corruption case. Enterprise corruption is the state's version of the RICO Act. So if it was Fed's case, it's RICO. State, it's enterprise corruption, which is the same shit. You're looking at 20, 25 right off the bat. It's a number. It's, you're looking at football numbers right away. So yeah, got arrested. Wasn't my first arrest, obviously, but it was my first, what you would call, I don't want to, like, major arrest. I've been arrested a few times in my life. I didn't break the record for arrest, but I have more than a few. I'm not proud of it. My younger years. So the long and short of it is what they had on me was I was asked. I played a lot of different roles in that life. But in this particular case, I got brought into a crew that already had two organized crime detectives in the crew introduced to me as friends. I didn't know them. I got introduced to them. Okay, in the New York Post, I'll eventually put it up. I just thought it was tacky. I would never do that to try to show authenticity. It's something to be proud of. I was always taught, honestly, you get caught, there's something to brag about. It's not to brag about if you go do 12 years. What does that mean? Well, it just means you fucking got caught. Well, it doesn't make you a genius. You got caught. Anyway, guys use that as a badge of honor that, whatever. So I go with two organized crime detectives, not knowing obviously they're organized crime detectives, and I just had to collect a bill that was legitimately owed. You know, I, I'm a good soldier. Do what I'm asked. Now, what saved me from doing heavy time was I was specifically told, do not get carried away. I obviously must have been told that for a reason. Okay, because there's times where human nature is you might get carried away to impress somebody, or maybe you're told to, make this person understand that, you know, they're going to be sore for a few days. You understand? So, but in this case, that was not said to me. It was clearly told to me, you're going to talk. They're going to stand with you. They're going to keep their mouths shut. You do all the talking. You're not going to do anything silly. I don't want you doing anything silly. And I just want you to make this person understand that the bill is not going away and neither am I. Now, what keeps that takes that from extortion to attempted coercion, which it winds up getting knocked down to because I had a great lawyer from the Bronx, Murray Richmond, who only handled rappers and wise guys. I didn't have Murray Richmond type money. That's a fact, but he stepped up for me at the arraignment, and I wound up with Murray Richmond representing me, so that helped. But it could have easily went sideways. Meaning, if I'm not told, I was somebody I followed orders very well. Because if you're all in on something, you're all in. Otherwise, don't be all in. Not my thinking today, you know. But so there was no threats made. There was no silly things said like, if I come back here next week, I'm going to put you in the trunk. You could easily get carried away and say, I'm going to, a simple thing like I'm going to crack your head. I'm going to, anything violent wise takes that charge to a conspiracy now. Now you have an extortion charge with a conspiracy to commit a violent act. Whatever they can play with the words any way they want. Well, I didn't do any of that. I just did what I was told. The bill's not going away, and neither am I. And about a year later, I was staying in Queens. I just moved back from the Bronx, I believe, because I was up in the Bronx for about 13 years, maybe. But my kids were here in Queens, so I would always be back and forth. And I was working. I was already back in construction, working 9/11, and they came pounding on the door at 3, 4 in the morning, the way they do. And I wound up getting it knocked down because my case was on a separate indictment. Now, when you read the article, if you guys ever read it, there's a lot of things that people, and for me, I was fortunate. Not just with that, how I got spared from the main indictment um, was a car ride because I didn't get a phone call. Because had I got a phone call, I would have been involved in something a lot more serious that is in that article. And it was all conspiracy stuff, but I would have been in that car, and because a lot of guys, 2 or 3 of the guys in the main indictment, all did 7, 8, 10, whatever. A couple of guys got 2, 3 little numbers. My thing got knocked. Me and 2 other guys, separate indictments, like I told you, weren't in the main indictment. Got knocked down to 3 years I got 3 years probation. And I have somebody in here that he knows. I tell him, and I told my lawyer this, like, after I was reporting for probation for a few months. Had I known what I would have had to go through with probation, I this is going to sound crazy. I would have rather did a couple of fucking years in jail, because probation, anybody that's been through it, parole, probation, it sounds crazy. But quite honestly, my lawyer said you're a retard because then you would have been taken, it would have been on heavy on your record, and good luck getting a job, you know, but stuff like that. So yeah, I was pinched. Um, Somebody's asking, yes, Tony knows how to fight, absolutely. Where's Tony Silo? Everybody's asking for where Tony Silo is. I was gonna talk about. I was just gonna say it actually before we go. Tony's just got some things he had to attend to that came up last minute, and that's why he's not here tonight. And he should be here. No, I believe probably Saturday night for our football show. Um, but he's got some things going on. But I've been with Tony for the last 2 days. The last couple of days we've been together hanging out. I don't go much. I don't go out no more at night. This crazy son of a gun's got me going out at night. Just shooting a breeze. He knows my children very well. My children were close with his children. So it goes beyond this um, show or YouTube. It was just crazy how we ran into each other in a freaking one of these things. Never did I think I would ever come on YouTube, and if it had nothing to do with football, I really never thought I would talk about my life. But you know what? I think it's important in a way. There's times I feel I don't feel good about it from a standpoint of I never want to come across glorifying any of this shit because I've talked about a lot of guys that sign baseball bats and talk about what they've done and this, that, and the other thing. I have no respect for that um, at all. And even talking about this stuff, if I'm changed as a person, right? Um, Coming back and go keep glossing over these old war stories, well, you really start to read those juices. You start to go, it takes you back in your memory, and things start to get more vivid again, and you start to, relive a lot of this stuff. Not, listen, we are who we are, and there's certain things, and in that life, or certain things I was raised with that will always be inside me. You just, I like to think they're the better things about respect, or what it was originally about. Respect, um, honor, that whole thing. Respect women. Um, don't be a womanizer. Um, this, don't sleep with your friend's wife. There's a lot of things that unfortunately a lot of people didn't keep to those rules. And I'll say I can't say I was around in 1930 or the 40s or the 50s. I'm born in 1967. I could only talk about the years that I know of being around. Um, I mean, really being around, and officially on record with a family and all of that. And you're either all in 100%. You can't be halfway in. And there are guys that are got 1 foot in, but they get treated, used, and abused. I've heard guys tell guys that were that way. They were soft, as we would say, soft, no heart, and they had no they didn't have a mean streak in them. They were only around because they were given money. I heard guys tell guys, listen, you're a mutt. You'll always be here. You ain't going nowhere. Right? Imagine. You ain't going nowhere. You're my dog. That's the exact word. You're my dog and you'll always be my dog. Now, if you're a man and you accept that, that's up to you. I'm not going to say I never had confrontations with people in my own crew and the boss of the crew, but I was respected enough that I don't, You're not going to talk to me like a dog. But that I knew that going in there. I say this a lot. Certain things in your life should be non-negotiable. Men, women, whoever it is. Certain things in our lives should be non-negotiable. Now, to everybody, that might be something different, you know. And there's certain things in my life that are non-negotiable. Um, and I battle that, like, it could be a simple thing. Like, I mean, some are more serious than others, but I'll just keep it my family, my friends. I love my friends, I don't hang out meaning that way, but, if I call you a friend, you're a friend, certain things are just non negotiable to me, my faith. Um, and I'm not a fence sitter. I'm not, I'm just, it, I don't want to be around people that waver, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just that it's not for me. It's either white or black. It's not in the middle. Yeah, you want to hear everybody's side to a story, no question about it. You should. But in the end, you try to make a logical decision and then say, okay, you know what? In my opinion, I'm going to stay on this side because I just think that that was the right move, and my belief system says A on the white is white. I'm not gonna tell the guy that's black. Oh, I'm with you, and then I'm with you. Too many people sit in the middle, and that's how you get into a problem in any walk of life. And I'm not here to preach to nobody about that. I'm not preaching at all. I'm just saying, oh, Toro crazy. GDM, how are you? I just, we're just shooting the breeze here, and giving you guys just some little thoughts. Yeah, I want to talk about this because I got some text messages today before I came on, and I truly don't understand them. I got my own son saying, "Where's Tony Silo?" My son Antonio was with me the last couple of nights. We were with Tony the last couple of nights. We enjoying ourselves having to. And Tony, Mikey, my son Antonio, saying, and say whatever you got to say. Um, Explain. I don't know what he means by explain, but what I want to say is this: I don't understand, nor will I ever take part in the he say she said shit. The only thing I will be very clear on: I'm not gonna host, or will I ever go on a show that is have put people in jail. Okay, use whatever word you want to use. Okay, now I said this a few weeks ago. I'll say it again. If you have a hard enough time in the street, when you're in the street, in any sort of criminal activity, you don't have to be the the mob, whatever word you want to use, the life gang, whatever. Your best friend could go bad and you don't know it, right? So if it's tough enough to know who's good or bad in a crew, when you start finding out who turned on you, who gave you up, who did this, who did that, how are you supposed to know on the internet who's real, who isn't? So you try to make an educated decision, and then if you find out 2 years later this guy is in a chat room in a show full of rats, what are you going to do? That you had him on for an interview because you thought he was the goods, or you thought he had the same, yes, um, the same mindset as you, like you you were on the same page, like me and Jimmy on the same page, because Jim, Jimmy understands. Me and Jimmy speak the same language for a reason. Tony can speak the language for the same reason. Unfortunately, my kids saw things they shouldn't have seen when they were young. I used to think it was cool. I took them to every social club, restaurants that I used to be a fixture in. That was, that's just the way it was. So I did, I'm a young father, no excuse. Unfortunately, thank God they didn't go that way, but they became very street smart. and that's great in a way, and it could be bad in another. But we got to be careful. Yes, absolutely. I don't. When you sign up for when you sign like when I signed up to play any athletic sport, I knew what sport I was going to play, and we were going to play. So when I signed up for that, I was asked to be part of something, and I signed up. I was all in. I'm 100%. I'm not gonna, that's a fact. If you're not all in, it's not good. A lot of bad things can happen. You can't be half-assed. Why half-ass anything? So going to jail it's going to happen. You just accept it, or just don't go near that life. So that's the best advice I give. Absolutely, Gianni. Prison is not a badge of honor one bit. 8 years I lost to prison, and God knows how much else to me. It's my badge of stupidity means I fucked up or trusted someone and shouldn't have. Gianni, before I read that, what did I just I didn't get into the whole thing, but what did I say? Too many guys use it as a badge of honor. All it means is you were fucking stupid. I had a brother that did a lot of time from young, started doing time at 13 and stretches and here and there, whatever. But he never talked about it. Like he used to tell me at a young age, you don't talk. There's nothing to talk about. You don't know. You would never hear him saying like you hear guys, hey, I just came home. Oh, I just did 6 years. Well, and the grand scheme of things, what does that really? What does it mean? What does it mean? I don't know. Some people they want to be around guys that did time. You know, you know, I don't know. I mean, now are we going to start counting how many times who's been arrested? You know, you did short stays, who did long stays, who did football numbers. There's words for everything. We all know the numbers, the words. You know what I mean? We could all talk the talk. Whether you spent 3 weeks, a month, whatever, 6 years, 12 years. Either way it goes, you're hurting your family. You know, you're hurting your family. But anyway, man, I like to just keep it real. I'm hoping we grow. I'm sure we'll have Tony back Saturday night. We got a sports live show. Dave will continue our Chicago Bear argument or disagreement. And I just love you all, and I thank you guys. Yeah, yeah. Tony. Listen, Tony will be back Saturday. Um, I'm sure we'll get in touch with him. He'll be back. He's had some shit going on that he had to take care of. I know that. Who's a Fugazi? Whoa, Toro. If I'll give you the answer, if you give me an idea. Um, are you asking me did I know anybody that was full of shit that acted like he was somebody? Or are you asking me did I know anybody that played the role but was nothing? I could probably give you a bunch of guys, but you just wouldn't know them because they if they were role players. Let's see what Dex Dallas. I totally disagree with that statement about getting caught. 12 years, it means a lot to yourself, in my opinion, to do time no matter how much time it is. Dex, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying I don't think it's a badge of honor, and we're good friends, brother. And I know where you've been, and you know where the life I've lived, and you know how many years we know each other. But that's okay. That's what makes us friends. We can disagree, right? I'm just saying it's not a badge of honor. Yeah, it shows some things. It shows that you stood up. Definitely, it shows that you handled yourself appropriately, right? But I don't think it's anything to come home and brag about. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what that means. Tony Silo, 100. Oh, snap, Mikey. That's what you meant? I don't. All right. I love all you guys. Dave, you guys going to be here Saturday Night Sports? Mikey, we need you. He is. Oh, wait. Hold on a minute. He isn't a bad guy. He just likes to bust balls a little too much. Whatever you do, never talk politics with him. He'll drive you insane. Who? Tony? You guys notice I don't talk politics. I only did one video on Mayor fucking Clown, whatever his name is. And it was only because I was in a bad mood. And I wanted everybody to know what a punk mayor he is. But I don't talk politics with nobody because I don't give a shit because they're all full of shit. You understand? That's just how I feel about it. They're all full of shit. Some better than others. They don't give a shit about you or your family or your mother or your aunt, your uncle. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about us. They care about themselves. You know? So on that note, I just want to tell you guys, thank you all. Love you all. Like, subscribe if you liked it. If you don't like it, don't give it. I appreciate everybody coming in. Everybody that came in. There's so many to thank. Thank you all. Can't thank you enough. You're awesome. Saturday night, we'll have a sports live. Dave, I'll read that, Dave. 100%, Craig. It's the family that suffers the most, but it makes you solid and true respect in life. Doing time, it's nothing to be proud of you just a man at the end of the day. Amen. And I know what you're saying, Dave. 100%. Dave, I know you will be here. Listen, guys, I'm not saying, I want to make this clear. I get it. I lived it. We don't have to keep score on who's been arrested, how many times, how many nights, days, weeks, whatever. Whatever. I get it. I'm saying it's nothing to brag about. I know I don't want to hear nobody bragging in my ear. I just did 6 years. And what does that mean? It don't mean nothing to me. I don't know you. I never did a fucking thing with you. I don't care if you did 6 years. How do I know you're not bad now? That's my point. That's all. I'll leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. Again, I told you I'm not a fucking fence sitter. I'm not going to sit on it. It's not that I don't have respect. I have respect for guys that do what they got to do, stood up, and then come home and don't go and need to tell every last Tom, Dick, and Harry of where they just came from. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. But in the life or anytime you're doing anything bad, expect to get arrested and know that going in. So if you think for a minute you can't do a day in jail or 10 years in jail, don't get involved with anything that's illegal and criminal. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do the right things in life, and you don't have to worry about none of this shit. You don't have to worry about your phone going off at 3 a.m. saying, I need to talk to you. You don't have to worry about nobody knocking on your door, kicking your door down, treating your family bad while they're pinning you up, and playing the games that get played when you get rounded up. And everybody's well versed in this chat. I just want to thank everybody. Cinnamon Girl, thank you so much for helping out. I gave so many people wrenches and not one wrench showed up. And I know we did it right. But maybe because I'm on a different computer, I don't know. But I did it from my house at home, on my other computer. And 26 likes, that's awesome. I did it on my other computer. And I made everybody that I know that comes into the show, I made a moderator. And so I just expected to see everybody with wrenches, and none of that happened. But somehow everybody was able to drop. Cinnamon Girl was able to drop links. So I thank you so much for that. And just keep coming through, guys. We're gonna grow. What you guys know, I've said it from time and time again. It's not always going to be a mob show. With Jimmy, there's a story to be told, and it's a long one because it's deep. It's very deep. So Jimmy's gonna come on once a week, and that'll be it. I'm gonna go into some of my years of working the doors at some of the best. When I say best, very high end places in Manhattan. When I worked the door for Cipriani, if anybody's heard of Cipriani's, Pestis, and I used to deal with a lot of Tao, Manhattan. I used to deal with a lot of athletes and movie stars, A-list stuff. What they call the A-list. Ooh, big thing, right? And I'd like to do a show and start talking about that kind of stuff too, and to tell you who's a scumbag, who's a nice person, who's a piece of shit, who's a creep. Because you see a lot when you work a door. You see a lot. You see a lot. And I met some good people. Well, I don't want to say good because I don't know them. I met some friendly people that'll shake your hand and say hello. And I've seen some very big name music industry people, designers, top designers, big names. We all wear their, want their clothes. To athletes, to rappers, be douchebags, and some be beautiful. If you still want to hear about that stuff, we'll start doing those too. I'll do some uploads on that. I got a ton of union stories. I could go on forever with, how I did things with the union, for the union, and stuff like that. So we're always going to change it up. We're not. It's not going to be 3 days a week of mob content. Just don't. I don't. It's okay. Somebody's telling their story. We're gonna, get it out. Like somebody's asking me to come on tomorrow, and they want to hear, I guess, whatever I grew up around or with, or got involved with. So I'm gonna do it. Um, and that's that. One of my sons says, "The life is dead. Anybody claiming a life in today's world would be able to buy their way in." Correct. These guys are all groomed wrong, and their rabbis were messengers. Not because he's my son, but he's 1,000,000% right. You got guys. We used to have a joke. There used to be a joke, and this is in the late '90s. And the joke used to be, "Hey, did you hear CBS is giving out applications? They're looking for me guys. They're looking for guys that want their button." Used to be a joke. It was becoming a joke then. That's right. Yes, he did. 100%. Hey, Dex, I know you understand where I'm coming from about the whole badge of honor. I don't want that to get that misconstrued. Gianni, glad I caught yours live. Great show, great talk. Best of luck on your show tomorrow. Thank you, Gianni. Thank you for coming in. I know you can't stand sports. I don't blame you. I love it, though. I'm out of my mind with it. Well, from a certain aspect. But you know what, guys? We had an hour and 35 minutes. Local El Toro, 638 Steam Fitters. We got a lot to talk about. I was a 731 laborer. Brother-in-law, 638. 79 laborer. 94 engineer. I've been through the gamut. Started from a young age and did many things in between and in the job. We could talk all union stuff. Great shit. El Toro, that means you're doing well on a pay scale. That's great. I'm happy to hear that. So we must meet for coffee. And because I remember when 638 books were going for about 20,000 to buy. And that's true. I'm sure you've been around. 638 was one of the hardest locals to get in, no matter how good you were. Yeah, it took forever. But that's a great, 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 great local, great trade. Good for you, buddy. God bless, man. Nothing but the best. Slow and steady wins the race. That's a fact. When I said we're not in a marathon, right? Greg, you have like 10 wrenches. Yeah, but why aren't they blue? Or maybe I can't see them. Good. All right, good. I'm happy I did. Maddie says New York City plumbers local too. We got a lot of union guys in here. Davey, Boston Laborers Union. I was a union man most of my life. I'm going to save this argument for another night. But I'll leave you on this. Saturday night, we have a sports night. Maybe one night next week, we'll do this. In 2023, do you think, just think about this. I'm not saying you what I'm feeling one way or another, but I do have an opinion I will let out next week. I want you guys to think about this. 2023, today, do you think the unions are needed and are as good and represent the men the way they should? like years ago? Or do you think the unions believe they're their own business now and their own corporation, building their own buildings? You understand? I'm talking about it from a different way. I was on that side of it too. So I used to hear a lot of things and that would make me sick because in my heart I was always a worker. I got in as a young kid digging ditches. So I don't know. We'll say that for another. Stop the born. You got it. You got it. Stop NAV. Be good. Oh, Gianni, I love you, man. Thank you for coming in. Joey Blunt, Santoro, Davey, Cinnamon Girl, the best, Maddie. Love all you guys. Tonio, Dave T. I don't want to forget nobody. Mikey, please, Dex. Love you, bud. Uh, Baywatch, Wyatt Earp, GDM. Anybody, if I forgot anybody, send me a note and I promise I'll make it up to you the next time. I apologize if I did. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. That's a show for another night. That's right, Toro. Toro, thank you so much for coming in, brother. Thank you. Shout out to everybody, anybody that's helped me put my links up. I hope we were able to do the same for you. We'll get better as we go. Tomorrow night, if you guys want to see, I'm not expecting nobody to stay home on a Friday night, I think, right? And watch me do an interview. But if you do want to see it, Hard Truth Reviews, I'm sure it'll circulate their bigger channel. There's some good guys, OG Mike, Loomis, whatever. They had a bigger show and they had an issue over bullshit with YouTube and they had to start all from scratch, and very quickly they built it back up again because they're good at what they do. All right. So for now, thank you, Cinnamon Girl. Thank you so much for dropping that link. So for now, be well. God bless. Stay safe. Keep your family close. And be careful because there's creeps out there. Don't think there's not creeps lurking around. Take care of your families. Take care of yourself. Always keep your head on a swivel and pay attention. You don't need to hear from me. Just look, I like to share with people that show love to me. My children will tell you I don't stop with that shit. At 56, I still pay attention and I'm prepared. I'm prepared. I don't want nothing, but whatever. I'm going home. I'm going home to my family. So just pay attention. It's crazy, crazy time we're living in. And guys, I love you. Have a great night. I'm so grateful you guys came in and stayed for the whole stream. Awesome. We held it down. We're growing, getting bigger. I'm telling you, we're going to have a crazy sports show Saturday night next week. I'll have a video uploaded tomorrow. I'm going to talk some of the Cipriani stuff and some crazy nights of some crazy stars and what I had to do with them and stuff like that. All right, guys, be well. Love you all. Peace. Peace. Peace.